Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Ruff and I am head of Ruff Team Realty, and we are here to change the way that you structure your financial future so that you can become financially independent, and I'm going to show you some of the things to avoid to make you a lot more money. FOMO, the fear of missing out. How do you beat that fear? Stay tuned, I'll show you how. FOMO, it's actually huge. Everybody feels it on every investment opportunity that is out there. I actually blame a lot that the news is doing this to us on a regular basis. All this clickbait everywhere. As many articles will tell you that the sky is falling, there's as many articles telling you that there's huge opportunities. So I think that there's a huge distrust in the market nowadays, telling us what we can do, what we can't do, and the fear of jumping in because there's just as many stories about people who are getting burned. This is where it all distills back down to your knowledge, your research, and having people that you trust. They can help you a lot if you find the right type of people. I think that we have to be really serious when we're talking about something like this. Now, when it comes to real estate, we see this all the time. Sometimes people will self-sabotage themselves. I find that there's a lot of deals that go through and people back away from those deals. There is some human psychological factors that we always want what we can't have, don't we? It doesn't really matter if it's a girlfriend or a house or an investment. It could be anything, really. When it's something that you can't have, you're running after it. The moment that you get it, you want to run away. And sometimes you will actually invent a reason why you want to get away from it. Sometimes it could be something that you can be scared of. I don't really know what it is. But how do we beat that, more importantly? For us, it all comes back to knowledge and research and being able to prove that to yourself. We just saw this through Corona. When Corona happened, the stock market was an absolute bloodbath for a lot of retail investors. People who just have one home, one investment property, a couple stocks in your TFSA or in your RSP down in the States in their 401ks, and they were dumping them like crazy. But what happened to the big guys? Warren Buffett, guys like that. What did they do? They were buying billions of dollars worth of stock because they saw an opportunity. So for you, you have to be prepared to have that opportunity when you can buy. One of the main reasons that Warren Buffett doesn't buy a stock on most days is he says that they're overvalued. And so how do we find a value of a stock, or in this case, a house? For regular people like me and you, not Bridgewater who's buying thousands of homes, for people like me and you, how do we make sure that we know the value of the property? Well, it's actually a little bit complicated, but it's actually a little bit easy. If you practice this, you're going to get really good at it. Number one, we're going to watch the market that we're interested in very carefully. What happens if we don't know what market we're going to be interested in? We want to look all around the area. So in our case, in the Greater Toronto area, we're going to be looking at all these different pockets. They call it the city of 99 communities for a reason, right? Because there's so many different flavors that you can choose from. Find the area that you want first. Once you find the area that you want, be hyper focused on looking for that type of home in that area. One thing that I find that people always are making a mistake with is that they're finding those properties and only paying attention to the asking price. So in a legal sense, we're allowed to ask any price that we want for a home. If you went on and look on realtor.ca, you'll be able to find homes for $1. And actually, I find that more honest, to be honest, because we're looking for an auction, essentially. They call it an offer date. So if you have an auction that's going, does the price always reflect what it's worth? Never, especially in the case for $1. But what typically happens in Toronto is homes are being placed under market value by 100,000. That's common. That's around $1 million home. In the homes that are around 500, 600,000 that are farther out, way out in the suburbs, it's more common that it's 50,000, but sometimes 100. But we sometimes run into homes like we had one in the Junction that was listed for 499,000, sold for 1.2 million. In that weekend, there were 300 people that showed up to look at that house. Crazy. How many wasted hours they put on all of those agents, the mortgage agents, getting approvals, because they actually thought that they could get that kind of a deal. In a market like Toronto that is so intense, so busy, so many people coming to look at properties, we're not going to see somebody sell their property for that much less. It just doesn't happen. It never happens. To give you another crazy example, out in Scarborough, there was a house that was listed for $999,999, so $1 million. all intensive purposes. They had on that property 120 showings in 3 days. 120 people, 3 days. You know how many offers? 31 offers. Highest I've ever seen, 31 offers. Now the home, just to put it in context, was worth about 1.3 million, and we knew that going in. And so the offers were coming in at just 1.32, 1.33. So very, very close, but still over what the home was worth. They refused all 31 offers, took the home off the market and relisted it for 1.5 million. Now the clients call you back and say, is that even legal? Are they allowed to do that? Well, yeah, they are. They can do whatever they want. They can say no to every offer. They can take it off the market and put it on for 5 million if they want. So some of this behavior that happens can create a lot of animosity between agents and the individual clients. It seems like they're always butting heads. I myself have had 2 clients in the past couple months that were very upset because I could not find them any homes in their price point that did not have an offer date. Now, I understand that. If I had my way, it would be illegal for you to have offer dates are fine, but to change the price of what you're asking for because it creates distrust among the public. So if a home is worth $1 million and you list it for $800,000 deliberately, it creates this dissension in the ranks where everybody's upset and they're worked up and they don't like going into these offer dates and bidding. Do you know how many clients I've had that have said, I don't want to be part of an offer date situation? Right now though, 65% of all properties in Toronto are going to offer date. This is a lot. So if you're going to buy a home, you're going to have to know how to deal with this. And you're going to have to come to grips with the fact that we are going to have to go into it and we may lose some property. The main goal in a very hot market, and I don't care if you were talking any metropolis city, the main goal is to be able to pay market value for a property, not this dream of getting it way under market value. That rarely ever happens. Now it will happen in towns like where my mom is from, where my aunt lives right now. So they live in small towns in Ontario. But in those cases where homes may sit on the market for a month, 2 months, there is opportunity sometimes where somebody has to move. But in very hot markets, there are so many people who are looking for homes, so much activity that are coming in that you're not going to have that big discrepancy that you see on TV where you're going to be able to make $50,000 of equity on your purchase. That's not going to happen. Especially in a place like Toronto where we're up 20% year over year. Most years we're up 10% every single year. That is mind-blowing. If you actually take that and think of just 10% or 20%, doesn't matter what example we use. If you want to use 20%, normally an investor is putting 20% down on the property. So he's getting $4 of debt for every $1 that he owns. So if he puts down $100,000, now he has a $500,000 home. So he's going to make on that $500,000 home 20%. What is 20%? $100,000. But he only put 100 down to begin with. So he made 100 now. In 1 year, he's made 100% on his money, which is a huge reason why Toronto is getting so much attention. This is why we have huge investors coming from Saudi Arabia, from the United States, from China. We're having huge influxes of cash. We also had a big blip where Hong Kong was bringing billions into the market. I mean, the Canadian government is assuming that there's 400,000 empty homes in Toronto. If the government is accepting 400,000, I bet you it's over 1 million. That's crazy. Once this has been developed into the psyche of people for 20 years, we can now understand why people know just keep on investing in Toronto, keep on investing in Toronto. Keep going into real estate over and over and over again. So a lot of our clients actually have 10 properties, 20 properties, and they just keep buying because it has so many tax advantages for you to do that. It's very worth it. But this all comes back to the fear of missing out. So all of what I just said can give you reason for fear, but it still should not make your mind any different about the fact that you should be purchasing something and investing in your future. It should not take that away. It just puts the onus on you more to do more research. And how do you do that? Can I give you a couple suggestions? I think this is what you should do. Now, they're not infallible. There's very many different ways to do it, but most people that I'm running into now keep on looking at certain websites that are third-party websites like House Sigma, condos.ca, Zolo, and they have AI programs in there that will tell you the estimated value of the property. So take this not just with a grain of salt, but with an entire salt shaker. When you look at that, those will have a little price next to it. That price is not guaranteed to be accurate at all. Sometimes I've seen it where it's $200,000 more than what it's actually worth. I've seen it where it's $200,000 under what it's worth, but they give you a little bit of an idea most of the time. But compare the different sites and see what the prices that they're estimating. And this is for your own personal research. If you look at those, it also is giving you the average price for that type of home in that area. That's all they're doing. So what happens if you have a 3-bedroom home next to another 3-bedroom home? The second 3-bedroom home may be on a pie-shaped lot, which in Toronto is worth about $50,000 more for that pie-shaped lot, because you have a lot more room in the back to put a pool and a lot more other stuff. So people will pay a premium for that. $50,000 isn't going to change your mortgage payment that much. So people would be willing to pay for that. Also, what happens if the house next door, the nicer one, has an extra bedroom in the basement or a finished basement? Or what happens if it's completely remodeled? So remember, it's giving you the average price for that type of home in that area. Average price. So that means average inside. So a lot of the homes that were built in the 70s and 80s, just imagine that not much has been done inside. Maybe a bathroom here or two. Maybe it has a drop ceiling in the basement, something like that. If you have that as your baseline, so say that it says that house is worth $800,000. Well, what does this nicer home have that the 800 base price doesn't give you? So if it has a pie-shaped lot, add 50,000 to your total. If it has a new kitchen, depending on the type of kitchen, you might have to add $20,000 to the price. So once I walk through the entire property with a construction guy, and we can estimate that it's about $125,000 worth of renovations more. Now we look at the lot and we say the lot is fantastic. The landscaping is fantastic. Pie-shaped lot at the end of a crescent, beautiful. We might have a $50,000 premium on that. Okay, now we're $175,000 more. So then if we look at the other property that was listed at $800,000, this now might be that $175,000 more. It's not really the case that if House Sigma says what the price is worth, that's what it's going to be. So I found that people have been having a real hard time with that. So understand it's a very hot market. A lot of people are looking at properties. Every property you go into is going to have 50, 75 business cards laying there for people who went to look at it. So when that happens, we're not going to get these massive deals. But guess what happens a lot of the time? People overpay for the properties. A property may only be worth $875, but I've seen people who would have spent $950 on it because they just don't know. They haven't done their homework and they don't have a realtor who's helping them with their homework. What we like to do is help you go through all those steps, understand how to value a property, and then we kind of draw a figurative line in the sand, if you will, and say, if it was up to me, I would not pay more than that price, ever. If you pay more than that price, you're overpaying, and that's kind of your decision if you want to do that. But we wouldn't recommend to do that. I would so much rather that you walk away with the money in your pocket and will buy something else at value that you're not getting ripped off on. Auctions, I understand people say, I don't want to get involved with them. I'm thinking of one client that he said I didn't want to get involved in an auction. We called just before the auction was happening. So that's also called the offer date. We called just before and there were no offers, and we ended up getting the home at a great deal. So don't be afraid of the auctions. All of your fear can be overcome with good help and good research. If you have good research, you're fine. Give me a regular product, any product on earth. If we wanted to say Apple AirPods, they're $220, I think they are in Canada. So if you saw that and you could get it on sale for $180, you'd be happy, right? But a lot of people need them right away. So they're happy to pay $220 because they know that's the price. Every product is like that, but homes for some reason aren't. They just say it's open to interpretation, whatever you want to pay, which is, I understand, so frustrating. It's frustrating for me. But when you look at it, if you know that those AirPods are worth $220, you have to be willing to pay $220. We always won't get them on sale, but the goal here is for you not to be buying them from a third-party seller on Amazon and pay $300 for them. Having that base knowledge is the exact same thing that we're going to apply to homes. If you follow these steps, find a realtor that you really like. Guess what? Their services are free. Our entire team is available, and our services are completely free. We like to think of ourselves as educators. We're not salespeople. We teach you how to do this because we can't control the game. I say that all the time to people that I didn't invent the rules of hockey, but as much as we don't like the blue line, it's there to stay. In real estate, I wish I had the power to change the rules. The top two things that I have problems with are I wish they would change the pricing strategy. You should put up the price of what you think it would be, and doctored photos. Oh, am I the only one that hates this? These doctored photos where they're all photoshopped and they make the backyard look gigantic and there's nothing there. These realtors are making us look terrible. And I understand the frustration. If you do your homework and you do your research and you find a good agent, interview a bunch of them. If you do all that, you will have the knowledge to be able to buy a perfect property and save yourself tens of thousands of dollars, and you'll be way less frustrated. The answers are out there and you can find them. I know you can do it.